Oh,
Oh,
that's better.
cool.
So I guess I'm not wearing my helmet because
So I
I
think you
have
can
this
take
on.
off the. There's a cat right here. You could take off the headset now that they're like you've closed because the problem was the YouTube link most likely.
Oh, that makes sense. I wasn't sure which, when you're doing a stream, if you're watching from the StreamYard
Ah,
or
yeah. Hey Sam.
I just added Sam.
Sorry
So
about that.
sorry, everybody. That's technical difficulty. That's me, first time streamer.
You got
Well,
that on your bingo card. He's
you got to
squared.
witness us talk about tech, me eat half of an apple fritter. And honestly, that's quality content.
That's right.
I'm gonna finish the apple fritter. It's not very good, but it was free, so it's worth it.
And I think an animal on screen, wasn't that one of the bingo?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, I think multiple times. Yeah, that's Storm again, Dark Lord of all, my cat, who's excessively fat. Jam, you can also in the there'll be on the side of your screen near the comments, like where you can see all the comments
Yep.
on the StreamYard. There's I think it's brand. You can make the live with StreamYard and the StreamYard live show thing disappear. So it's not like right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that.
My first stream, I had Sam walking me through, but I probably would have been a giant clusterfuck if not.
Sorry, I meant to be here earlier. I had my alarm go off at 8, and then I woke up and I'm like, I feel like death. I'm never moving, and I was just laying there. And then I heard this weird noise from my phone, and I was like, the fuck is that? CB is calling me. Oh shit, I have a thing to be at.
I felt that though. If this was a class, I would have skipped, and that's how I'm feeling today.
Oh no.
But it's not. It's something that I actually enjoy.
Oh, good. No, I appreciate
As
you
the fact that I
joining.
am here and didn't suddenly come down with a headache.
I will be one moment because I am actually feeling bad enough that I need to call my grandma about a thing. So y'all just continue. I'm just muting.
Awkward.
Alrighty.
And do we have anyone in chat? Not. Let's see. We have 3 in chat. Hello, those 3 people. I think I'm one of them, and Jam's one of them too. So we have 1 person in chat. Hello, singular person. If you want to say
Hello.
hi, just be
Hello,
us
viewer.
talking to you.
I think I'm the other person.
You're the other person. The 3 people are us.
I can call and harass Fox, but he won't talk in chat.
I mean, that's fair.
Well, at least no one had. The good news is no one had to live through
yeah,
my
and
sound debacles.
I'll post about things so people actually show up. Potentially, I have a tiny platform, but it's strong but small but mighty. And so when we finish streaming and it uploads to YouTube, you can trim up to our intros.
Oh, okay.
Or up to when maybe when I realize the fact that the camera's on and start talking. Because I went to go into chat and be like, oh yeah, there's we're having some technical difficulties, blah 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 blah. Be live in a minute. And then I was like, that's my face. Why is my face there? I'm looking at myself.
Well, when you started waving, I was like, oh, I'm gonna add CB to the chat now, and I didn't.
It's all cool. Yeah. I mean, people don't mind. People aren't evil, luckily. Let's see. I'm struggling. Here we go. I love all of the timers as I'm going through the Worldwide Writeathon, just all timing down. It's kind of satisfying.
Yes.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Oh, I can't add this to my story.
Also, I did, in fact, just wake up and go, we're doing fantasy, runs in closet, grabs 2 things, puts them on. I am good.
Fair. I woke up and went, oh yeah, we're doing fantasy. pulled Foot Locker out from under my bed, opened it. I'm not wearing grabbed a tiara and some
I'm
fake
so proud
leather
of-
vest and a
I'm so proud
slightly
of
altered
how-
shirt and was like, fancy.
I'm so proud of how
I'm
well
not
your
putting the
apprenticeship
corset
is
on. It
coming
is
along.
too early for that shit. It's like
To be clear, though, it's my current state is not because of how early this stream is. It's because I may have stayed up so that I could watch chat 4. So yeah.
How much sleep did you get, Sam?
Oh.
Sleep?
We don't know her.
That's a
Yeah.
foreign concept for
That's
me.
crazy
What?
talk.
I will yell at everybody else on the WWW to sleep, but I am an ancient immortal of mysterious and unknown origins and don't really know what I need to function as a creature, so we're good.
Great. I'm struggling.
So it shows 2 viewers. Should we do introductions?
Yeah, because people will watch it on the playback, which also, Jamie, it'll take the video time to process, but when people watch it on the playback, that beginning echo will still be there. However, StreamYard, not StreamYard, YouTube, in the YouTube studio, you'll be able to go back and edit, and then you'll just be able to cut that part out.
Proof that Sam and I have the exact same mind. I said that like 5 minutes ago. So.
Yep.
Well, you
CB
know
said
what?
the same thing.
I'm still processing life.
It's cool. Come on.
But yeah, I'm on the bottom, so CB, you have to go first.
I don't know how to medieval. Can I type and say this? No, I can't. Armor. I don't
I'll
know how
go
to spell armor
first.
either. I'm doing really great, guys.
Hi, I'm writing mom Samantha L. Nasset. On my channel, I host live streams on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, where sometimes I do writing sprints and other times we talk about whatever I want. Next month, we're doing 2 Let's Talks, 1 Sailor Moon, 1 about a not yet chosen movie. Jamie will actually be... oh, sorry, I didn't... Did you want to be GM or...
My name's Jamie. It's fine. I mean, JM is what do you call those
yeah,
things?
but like
Pen names.
CB doesn't use her first name, so
yeah.
But
no,
okay.
it's good.
So Jamie will actually be on my channel next month. We haven't finangled which Monday yet, but he'll be there. I also post things sometimes on Thursdays. Like I will be posting a WWW vlog eventually. And when I do that on Thursdays. Oh, there's a fox here. He just said Satan for some reason. Anyway, where's my checklist? Oh, if you want to read a sample of my writing or follow all things Sam, you can go to my website, SamanthaLNasset.com. Like this stream, you can get all the things. I'll do my outro better, but
you want me to do some of your intro?
Yeah, here, go ahead.
I think she's memorized it.
I know. Regulars are so great.
If you want a sample of Sam's writing, you can check out her website, Samantha L. Nasset. It's in the description, probably. And there you can, for spooky fun, I forgot other words for scary season.
Until Pizza Do Us Part, my
flash fiction. Check out her short story, Till Pizzas Do Us Part. Warnings, it will make you hungry. And it's also eerie. So you should check that out. I enjoy it. Yeah, and if you want more updates on Sam, you could check out her newsletter where she gives updates. Maybe I can't do better.
Where I give updates on all things Sam, as well as WWW updates and my schedule for streams I will appear on.
Including her own.
Yes.
Ta-da! All right, I'll go now. I'll probably do worse than Sam.
No.
Actually, I only have like maybe a fourth of what she has to say. I'm CB Ferrenz, young adult fantasy author, teenager, YouTuber, college student, film person major. And on my channel, I talk about how those things come together, or rather do not. I make videos with semi-reliable writing advice. I do kind of productive writing sprints every once in a while. And I occasionally make skits about writing. Now that I say it, it sounds like I am so unreliable, which is true. If you want to see what I'm up to day to day, you can, add me on social medias, which I'm kind of present on. Yeah. Cool.
Great.
That's me. Jamie?
And I am J.M. Celi. I am a writer of fantasy fiction. I'm currently working on a dark fantasy fiction about a half succubus who's desperately trying to escape hell to go to the mortal world. I have my socials below on my channel. I talk about lots of fantasy writer stuff. I do writing tips, and I talk about how role-playing games may filter into your fantasy writing. I talk about how history may filter into your fantasy writing. And you can check out the first chapter of my work in progress, A Flower in Hell, on my webpage, jmchaley.com. Yay!
I'm catching up on WW sprints. It's fine. I'm still listening.
Still attempting to post everywhere?
No, I still have to do that. I admin stuff.
We have our first comment.
I have a husband.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Yes,
Most likely.
the Buster Sword, and you know it. The Gunblade.
The
Final
Gunblade.
Fantasy.
Well, no, I think is Chris asking about real life outlandish sword designs?
Probably both. But fantasy fiction too. He's my husband and I are weebs and gamers, and many of his favorite characters, in fact, wield giant ass swords or just weird swords. To be fair, though, before he gets upset, the Gunblade is not from one of his favorite characters. I just threw that one out there because, like, people hear Gunblade and it's like, well, yeah, bayonets, those make sense, but no, the Gunblade is a reverse bayonet. It's like sword with a little revolver thing and the trigger at the see, it doesn't work.
Like, it doesn't seem very
Final Fantasy doesn't need logic. It's fine.
There actually were Gunblades.
Like
so, and I don't have one down here. I collect non-firing replicas of like antique weapons. Let me see if I can reach it from here. So this guy right here.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
This is no, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the giant. No, I get it. But they did make a guy like this with a blade that came out about that far, and it's upstairs now. I'm not going to run and get it, but it's so you could shoot and stab. It's basically a bayonet on a gun, but that's the closest thing we got in real life to that.
I saw this thing that there was someone's sword was like bendy, so they kept it like wrapped around their waist, and then I pulled it out and it was like a normal sword, and I'm like, I don't think it works like that.
Unless you're in the theater.
In real life, like the Khopesh that can translate to a fantasy setting, I like the realm of realism and stuff. Gunblade isn't.
I love the Khopesh.
What is the Khopesh?
It's I believe it's Egyptian, and it's it has kind of like, it goes up straight for a little while and then it kind of curves.
Oh, yes.
Up. It's, and the curve made it a very almost like a saber or a sickle.
You can Google an image and click share, and then you can share and you can show pictures of the weapons you're talking about.
Ooh, okay. There was an attempt. So here we.
Yeah, it's okay. Well,
so share screen. Is that what you do?
No, I would not suggest that one.
Share
I
tab.
would pull up the Google tab first,
Yep.
and then once you have that to in the share screen options,
Mm-hmm.
you can do window or Chrome tab specifically. I would do Chrome tab. Yes, I know I canceled screen sharing. Don't yell at me. My weekend has finally caught up to me, and I don't appreciate it.
How dare
It could have given me one more day.
Do I need to go into a different view? I'm sorry, everyone.
Oh.
It's fine. No, it'll pop it. It'll pop up like it's another person.
I can do it. I have the share option, I think.
You do. He can pop ours up.
Like that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I can look it up.
Oh, I see. Right click, share, and then it gives me some options. I'm learning on the job, everybody.
He's learning on the job, and unfortunately, the admin who said she would help him has died. I'm in the middle of my resurrection phase. That's why I have a phoenix on my back. It's fine.
Jamie, I pulled it up. If on the bottom bar, like where our
Add to
faces
stream.
are, you can click on the
Give him a second. He's trying to explain what a Kopesh is to CB.
Ta-da! Do you know what the curve in the blade was used for? Like it's how it helps the blade be.
It
If
was
I remember
chopping.
If I remember correctly, the Kopesh started out as a farming implement, and so they would. That's why it's curved, because when they went to cut the plants like bend. So the curve of the Kopesh helped work with the bend of the plants, and so it would cut the plants easier. And then over time, they were like, "We can murder people with this."
It's funny how many.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like a lot of weapons started out as farming implements. Generally, if it has a curved side like a scythe, it probably started out to cut plants.
Yep.
And then went to cutting people.
Like, okay, but we can do this different.
That's true. So I sort of had a script, but it's kind of loosey-goosey. I wasn't sure if we want to talk about.
It's just talking points.
It's just talking points,
yeah. You know. Point, and then we talk about things. But do you have any examples other than a Kopesh? My brain stops functioning, so I'm relying on you for all knowledge everywhere.
Honestly, as much as I love the Kopesh, I didn't spend a lot of time researching that particular blade. I mean, if I was gonna
the answer blade like that.
No, like other examples of similar weapons that are outlandish and
look kind of funky. Like, I don't know if this is a real thing that people used, but there's like the squiggle sword.
Oh, the flamberge? Yeah. So the squiggle sword, yeah, no,
that's my new favorite sword. I don't care how it looks.
Yeah, this. It's on the tab.
Is it? I'm gonna add it to the screen.
Yeah.
Yes. So especially this one on the second row, the first one in the second row. That's what I think of like a flamberge. Yeah. And I got to be honest, I never really understood the practicality of that one.
For blood draining, because the blood drains out the curves easier. It's easier to clean.
More efficient murdering.
I know far too much about the making of weapons and why they function.
But it really is too much.
No, I need to know things.
So, newbie as I was, I didn't know how to share images during a live chat. So I actually made like little cutouts of certain weapons.
Oh.
Those work
And
too.
if we're talking about weird looking weapons, I'd probably want to bring up the bill hook or the guy's arm, which was a farming implement, right? You had like this scythe, the sickle like thing over here, and you'd clear brush with it. And this would be on the end of a very long pole. And like most farming instruments, I shouldn't say most, but like some farming instruments, someone got the bright idea, you know, I could kill someone with this. They put a spike on top, spikes all around. This weapon was famous for infantry being able to dismount a mounted rider, just grabbing onto him, pulling him down, and
Get
then
over here.
the skewer. Yeah. So this is a bill hook, and the farming tool is also called a bill hook too. They didn't even bother changing the name.
They never do.
They were just like, what are you going off to fight with? Oh, I have a rake and a bill hook and a hoe. You know,
Taking my hose to battle.
that's right.
Always.
So I mean, I always, when I think of an outlandish weapon, I think of this kind of crazy looking design, but it was really effective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Visual aids indeed.
Yes. We love
I would
visual
want that
aids.
like when you're writing. Because you're like, oh, it hooks on. So at first I was like, oh yeah, it like wraps around the thigh, and then I was like, wait, it probably just goes straight in and then rips. Well, yeah, that's fun.
You could do that to somebody like on the ground, but I wouldn't attempt that on horseback because, like, although you would stab them through the gut or the crotch first, so I guess that could still work.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it used in recreations.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing was on a long pole. So what would sometimes happen if you could get it into the seam, like around by where maybe the breastplate, well, your gorget would go over, which would protect your neck and, you know, clavicle, that area, right, and cover your breastplate. So you really couldn't get anything on there, any purchase. But if you could hook onto any other part of the breastplate or the cuirass and pull them down by like the shoulder, that's where they'd go for. Or even like a part of the visor of the helmet, because this thing was on a very long pole. You just come and pull down.
Eric Crockwell's comment.
Yeah. It was nasty fighting.
Yeah. Eric Crockwell's comment down there. Farm tools terrify me. Every time I go to a folk museum, I feel like I'm in a horror movie. I mean, that's very valid because, like, see, one of the reasons that farming tools are now just so commonly more known as weapons is because, you know, farmers, bandits, or bandits invading forces, like bandits, enemy soldiers invading forces, or like even sometimes, depending on what kind of monarchy they are, they'd have to worry about that, would just come and, you know, come through their farm, and they're just farmers in their fields again. They got to defend themselves and what they got on hand. A crowpatch, a scythe, a hoe,
a scythe. Wasn't a scythe a farming tool too? Didn't think about farming tools, to be honest.
I think
That's
so.
like how chainsaw was first used to help in labor, and then became a staple in horror films.
I'm gonna double check that because I do think if it was a farming tool, then it was probably to seeds and soil. But
that's what I heard, but I don't know if that's an urban myth or not.
I thought a scythe was to gather, like, you cut it and you gather the stalks.
It is, but the scythe, which is the three. How would you describe that? The scythe is.
I'm gonna make a gesture because this is how a scythe is shaped.
Yeah.
It's the one like this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's Raphael's weapon.
Oh, yeah, that helps too.
Okay.
I should have done that one, but I was like, I can make shapes.
I got cold, and I was like, wait, I have an addition to this that stays in theme.
Ha! Scythes were used for digging up rows of seeds.
Actually, I have 3 additions. I have 3 cloaks.
So it's true. I always thought that was just too on the nose. Like, why do you need the 2 extra?
To tear up the...
Yeah, the big one
Maybe, yeah.
like gets deep in it, and then the two it's like we have the Western one is the one with the 3 claws.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's that's why I thought it was similar.
I had one. We had one of those on our farm when I was little.
I grew up in a farming town, so
Yep.
I know all the tools.
That's
Even
right.
if I can't name them, I know what they are.
I know you.
So a lot of weapons. It's funny. The evolution of weapons is interesting because, of course, not everyone had access to the good stuff, so they used what they had on hand, which were farming tools. But the other thing that added to the evolution of weapons was armor. As armor evolved, like I'm wearing chainmail right now, but when plate came along, it was a game changer for like everything.
I thought that was just an interesting pattern on a shirt, but that sure the fuck is chainmail.
Yeah. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this thing's probably 60 pounds, but when you wear it, I don't know if either of you have worn chainmail, but it distributes it out and it's not that bad. It's a little heavy on the shoulders, but
the first time I touched or held chainmail was Castle Gwen in Tennessee. Is they have a Renaissance fair every May, and they have like one of the gloves and a thing of chainmail, and you can like lift them up and stuff to see how heavy it was.
yeah.
Actually,
my dad is very much an amateur blacksmith and has went to one of his things and learned how to make chainmail, and so came home with a bit of chainmail.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, this isn't. I don't know if the camera can really see it that well, but they're definitely the links that are all kind of done together.
Mm-hmm.
But real chainmail that they would have used back, in the Middle Ages had, I don't think for every ring, but for like every fifth ring or so, had rivets in it, a tiny little rivet. So you'd plug it up with a little rivet, which created a lot of strength. Like if someone took a sword to this, like, and stabbed through it, the little links would go whoop, and let that sword right through. But with the rivets, you get that extra, level of protection.
Reinforcement.
Exactly, reinforcement. And hopefully you have something under your chainmail, like a gambeson, like a nice padded, shirt. And that would keep your ribs from breaking when you get hit with something.
Awesome.
But yeah,
all I think of right now is like all of the fantasy stuff I watched, but the one thing my mind is going to is like BBC's Merlin. How he's like how Prince Arthur is always walking around in like the thing that goes under his chainmail.
Yes.
In case if you know, you know.
Tyr Anasazi in the sci-fi show Andromeda, for much of the first season, only wore just a chainmail shirt against his skin. And I, like, for the longest time, and I still will make the joke that just makes him one of the most badass characters to me, because his nipples have to be pinched daily.
Oh, that's, I mean, props to the actor, because chainmail on bare skin, I can tell you, is not comfortable at all. And I mean, it may have been like costume chain, so it may have looked real, but actually been made of some sort of like rubber or something like that. But
yes, but the character most definitely is supposed to have been wearing.
Oh, he was badass. I love that show. That show, Andromeda, was great. Very underrated. Oh, something just popped up.
No, don't put that up.
I will not.
That's my Mila note. I wouldn't care, but I don't know if Fox has any.
No, I wasn't sure if you were like pulling up some Andromeda reference.
Oh, no, I'm pulling up something else. If my computer will be nice to me. There we go.
Shall I share that?
Yes. Sorry.
Add to stream.
This is actually me and Chris at Castle Gwen, and that's
oh, wow.
Yeah, that's genuine, if I think. I don't remember. But that's
definitely metal. Yeah, I mean, that's
No, I mean, I'm trying to remember if it was a replica or if they had purchased actual chainmail. But no, I think it's probably just a replica. But then, yeah, that's me trying on the glove. So,
Wow.
Yeah, Castle Gwen's awesome.
That's
Also,
awesome.
bring the outfits.
Oh, thank you. We never don't dress up.
Fair. I mean, you kind of have to.
I actually still have that outfit in the closet. I wonder if I fit it. I can wear that tomorrow. Sorry, go on.
So there was one piece of armor I wanted to talk about because I feel like it's underrated and we don't see enough of it in fantasy fiction or movies or stuff, and that's brigandine armor. And for anyone in chat or whoever that might not know about brigandine, think of it as like a cloth exterior with rivets all through it. So it almost looks like studded suede or studded colored armor, but the rivets actually hold the underside, all these little interlocking metal plates. So underneath, or the inside of the armor, was all these metal plates. And I think, yeah, this one right here, yeah, that's a great picture of brigandine. So you see those what look like studs are actually rivets, and they're holding in these metal plates. So now you have this almost like a scale mail. And
for the longest time when I was a kid, I thought the way that this was made, which I know it is not, but just like somebody had a little rivet gun and was like.
I appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah, this was a very effective suit of armor because not only do you have the metal plates that protect you, but typically you wear it over a gambeson as well. So you'd have this layer of padding on top. So if you got hit with a war hammer or something blunt like a concussive or even an axe, you're going to definitely feel it, but it's not going to chew through your armor and go into your skin, which is the goal.
You don't immediately die.
You don't immediately die. But you see this in the Battle of Hastings and stuff like that, and the tapestries they did in the Brayer tapestries that show the Battle of Hastings in 1066. You see a lot of people wearing this really colorful looking armor, and that's what that is. It's
because as opposed to what most fantasy thinks, they did in fact use lots of bright dyes in history.
Yeah, because why not look good? You're out on the battlefield, all your friends are seeing you. This might be your last day. Get your hair done.
Oh, that's your logic for bright colors.
Excuse me as I add that into a character. It's just, why are you doing your hair? I might die today, damn it. It's gonna look good.
But you're wearing a helmet. Shut up.
I'll know.
When they take the helmet off to identify me.
I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me.
Shut up. There is a method.
The only downside to brigandine, well, I won't say the only downside, but one of the downsides to brigandine is if you didn't have a lot of money and you wanted to get yourself a nice suit of brigandine, the blacksmith would use pretty much, if it wasn't made to order because you had the money, the blacksmith would use kind of whatever metal he had on hand. So you might get the odd plate here or there, which was of lower quality gauge steel. And if you happen to take an arrow in that one place,
that's the spot.
Yeah, it'd be like Smog the Dragon. It's like, oh.
There's a cat wandering around me like, I want to wear armor.
They actually have animal armor.
Animal armor?
Yeah, hold on.
I know there's dragon armor, but
no, I mean like
horse armor.
Yeah.
Is there cat?
I see, like armor for your horse, you mean?
No.
Oh.
Well, yes, but no.
Yes, but no.
But in addition, you can pull that up.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That is epic. Oh
There
my
were
god.
cultures with battle cats and battle dogs,
Oh,
and
that's so good.
throughout all of history, I don't know if this one's legit, but it looks interesting. Throughout all of history, people have in fact loved their animals, and so if they trained them to go into battle or hunting with them, they would. That is not the point.
Wow.
They would design armor for their animals, and normally, because most animals that they would go into armor with were four-legged, this one I think is actually very accurate to what I remember. Excuse me, there we go.
That is great.
So yeah,
That
Do
is
you want a suit of armor?
that is awesome.
but also for modern day purposes, because hawks and things steal small animals, you can actually buy this thing. I should have just looked it up, but it's basically got these spikes that come out the back, and so like if something tries to grab them, it hurts them.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it's to specifically to protect small animals from being stolen away by like birds of prey and coyotes and stuff.
I think Storm's a little too
Wow.
chunky to be stolen away.
I gotta get some pug armor
Yeah. Oh my god, that'd
for
be
my pugs. That would be
Pug
amazing.
armor is in the same vein of like that all that art of fairies like riding corgis into battle.
Yes. I shared one of those on, I forget where, my Twitter stream, I forget.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
It's
But
the same level
it was
of
like,
awesome.
I'm
I
like, this
pulled the
is so
thing up.
great.
I pulled the thing up for you. Yeah, see?
Oh my god, that's amazing.
hilarious.
Anti-hawk vest.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that's
brilliant.
how I find it, because I never remember what it's called. Yeah, but there's a coyote vest, it's pet armor. So
Raptor shield. Puncture resistant pet vest. Hold on. That's intense.
people throughout history and into the modern age love our animals and seek to
Fair,
protect
look at
them
them.
in whichever
They're so
way we can.
useless.
So
Hi.
they're defenseless. But yeah.
I'm enjoying my cloak.
Nice.
We added, so I made these with the help of a costumer, and we added the red on shiny red on the inside just to make sure everyone knows he's gay. I'm joking, but also not. He's like, but look, fabulous.
But yeah, so like in a fantasy world, if your character has a familiar or like an animal companion or something, I definitely recommend looking up how pet armor was made and why it's designed the way that it's designed, so that you can make sure that they protect their animal companion optimally.
So the animal companion doesn't die
I love it.
and make all of your readers sad.
In case you want the plot armor to be physical.
Yeah. Speaking of fantasy armor, because that's what we're talking about, is real armor within a fantasy
setting.
Setting. Fantasy armor. Can we talk about how ridiculous fantasy armor? Do we want to?
Yeah. I got a lot of feels.
Like the dudes with the giant pauldrons, like basketballs.
Oh my God,
like,
let me tell you,
I can't see over my shoulder.
Look, you're all like, they got those pauldrons, and you're like, how are you? If you do that, it's going into your head.
Yeah, the spike on the end. Yeah,
For
you scratch your head, and then you impale yourself.
You have to sneeze, and you're like, fuck.
It's like, look how cool this guy is, and I'm like, no.
For anybody who doesn't know, pauldrons are the shoulder pieces of armor. So it's just, I cannot. So big ones I'll forgive, just because I'm like, okay, fine, rule of cool. Maybe they just have a really hard head like Yusuke. It's whatever. But when they have spikes on them, especially spikes that very clearly are like shaped like the, because pauldrons that had spikes on them for like fashion or anything, the spikes always curve outward, and they curve outward because when you do that, like this. But then like people. This is another reason I heavily emphasize understanding why armor and weapons are shaped the way they are, like what makes this a functioning design. is because people just draw the spikes like going up, or I've even seen them going inward, and I'm like, yes,
Yikes.
artistically you're drawing attention to the face, but you're about to stab yourself in the skull. So it's like aesthetically, I know why you're doing what you're doing, but that's not gonna function. And I'm sorry, rule of cool will only push my suspension of disbelief.
And you're going to want to be able to look over your own shoulder. I mean, if I can understand if it's this a little bit of, padding or whatever to look cool. I lived through the 80s. I get shoulder pads. I understand.
Everyone's rule of cool mileage may vary.
That's right. Yeah, even the men had shoulder pads in the 80s. So we lived through that. Or I lived through that.
Shoulder pads for a Halloween costume.
My dog looks how I feel right now. She's just like, mother, why are we awake? Go back to bed.
What my cat's doing. She's like, asshole, you got out of bed. I can't use you to warm myself up anymore. She like looked into my lap earlier and like put her like from the ground, like paws on my thigh, like she was about to climb in. And I was like, 1, this would be really cute. 2, I don't want to lose feeling in my legs.
Oh,
oh puppy.
No. Down.
Mm-hmm. Is that Nabby?
Mm-hmm. Stepping on my hair. No.
Imagine someone stepping on your hair being long enough.
No. Okay. Oh, really, you too.
Technical difficulties.
I was like, oh, that's cute. I remember Sam has a back tattoo. And I was like, oh, wait, that could be painful.
I have a what?
The tattoo. A fresh tattoo.
Oh, don't worry about me. Pain is whatever.
So my son went to a Ren fair recently. He bought himself an axe. And I was already planning to do this video for my own channel, which was to show, the destructive power of a sword versus a warhammer.
Mm-hmm.
But on pumpkins.
Oh, I love it.
And
blood versus slicing damage.
Yeah, and then he comes home with an axe, and I'm like, it's gonna be sword versus warhammer versus axe. So we filmed a bunch of that yesterday. So that'll be for something for November that I'm gonna put together. But I have the warhammer.
That's exciting. I love watching those videos. And axes are like a weird mix of like piercing, but also blunt.
Yeah, he's like, he was funny because it was made in a Ren fair, so he's like, Dad, it's not sharp, and I'm like, it won't matter. But this is a warhammer that I got online. It's actually a lucerne, because if you look at it, it's got prongs on the hammerhead.
Yeah.
Which is nasty. And then it's got this spike.
That's on the end. Squishy inside of a helmet.
Exactly. Yeah. And this was, 15th century-ish. And it was designed to fight someone that's wearing plate, and either dig through plate or concuss someone pretty badly.
CB,
pumpkins don't like it.
I thought you said that's how you negotiate, and I was just like, yes.
That's how you negotiate.
It took a really long time for my brain to be like, that is not what she said.
But I like it. I'll stick with it.
Hammer diplomacy. Negotiate with those pumpkins.
I know. So yeah, we had fun.
That has awesome. Teddy Roosevelt vibes.
What, hammer diplomacy?
Mm.
It's a reference to in League of Legends, there's a character named Poppy, and their race is these little, like, literally this tall people.
Oh, yep.
But she walks around in a full plate suit of armor with a hammer that's pretty big. And one of her quotes is just like something along the lines of, "It's hammer diplomacy." And She was one of my favorite characters to play. So
I can see why.
Nice.
just drinking. So if we're talking about bad armor designs, though, we of course have to bring up the titty plate. Because there is, for me, I separate boob plate from titty plate. And the reason I do this is because I've seen some boob breastplates that aren't actually that bad. And a lot of times they're more just supposed to be like the Greco-Roman man boob armor.
Yep.
But then you've got titty plate, which like tries so hard to be anatomically titty, or just do it. Literally will frame and separate the breast from the body, and it's like you've just exposed so much of all the things. Also, from a what's going to happen with that, with a sword or a hammer or anything, is you've now created, you remember how we were talking about that sword and how the ridges help direct the blood from the sword? Yeah, you're now directing the weaponry down to some of your most vulnerable pressure points and all of that. So congratulations, you've made it easier for them to break somebody's rib.
Yeah, exactly.
Pierce
the metal cups, I think, is the difference between like a larger cavity up here. I think that's what you're maybe just trying to talk about.
Possibly.
Also, like, you would have to get that perfectly custom made.
Yeah, right. It's like, look, most people with titties, their titties aren't even the same size. And you're going to tell me everybody's titties are going to fit in this armor. Like, come on now.
Jamie's like, yes.
He's like, yes, okay. I'm going to let the people with titties talk about this one.
Well, I actually did a boob armor video because of just the ridiculousness of it, but I can't speak from experience myself.
Oh, it's a boner armor. I don't like that.
Oh, the cod piece? Yeah.
But like,
hey, things need to be protected, CB. That is a very vulnerable area.
It was a boner armor.
I didn't see the boner in time. Jamie had gone away from it. So.
I scrolled away from it.
I think CB scrolled away from
it.
it.
My bad. See, you scrolled away before I could see the boner.
Look at this.
That's yeah. Jeez.
He really enjoys battle, and he wants comfort. But also, yeah, that's a wee much.
Yeah.
Now I have there is a misconception and some discourse about whether or not corsets make good armor. And here's the thing. For me, this is not a new concept, because when we like played D&D and stuff when I was a teenager, and we would buy leather armor, and our DM is like, it can look however, you want it to look. It's just leather armor, and this is how much it's going to do. And I'm like, can my character, because she's which one was it? It was my cleric, I think. And I was like, can hers look like a corset? And the DM like thought about it, and he's like, yeah, those are padded leather. And he's like, you can do that. And then since then I've done research, and corsets are actually pretty decent armor. Like, I wouldn't go onto the battlefield in them, but if you're like fighting one-on-one or something, then the way that the boning in a corset goes, it can actually disrupt the force and the energy, or like redirect the point of the blade. And just because of how many layers and stuff are sewn into it, they actually in general they can make some pretty decent armor, which a lot of people are, they're just like, well, there's no way, or that's unrealistic. But there is a woman on YouTube who did a video on it proving that they can. So
yeah. The thing that always, when I look at that, especially the one that's pictured there in the top right side, the cups, if you come in with a sword, Both of those, yeah. If you get hit in between, your sword's not going to deflect. Like armor is meant to be like, if you look at fluted plate, sorry, like the Germanic, it has these kind of like
Yeah, that's what I was
wavy
saying.
plates that deflect the blade away from you. Whereas the cups, you land in there and you're like ding 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 ding. The blade is gonna stick around.
Yeah, it's
You know?
trapping him. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, except you're phrasing it better. Instead of deflecting it away from your body, it deflects it into your body and traps it.
Yeah. And then you can thrust up. In my video, I basically was kind of trying to appeal to fantasy writers and say, look, if you're going for, an aesthetic, a woman's curves or whatever, if that's what you gotta have, that's what you're going for, then may I recommend chain, which will hug you very nicely, and you don't need to have this impracticality of metal cups,
Or the fact that anyone wearing armor is automatically sexier than they were before.
That's a fact.
It is.
Yep. But regardless of anything, armor is armor, and armor will just fit you. Like, you don't need, like, it's a quick Google search will show you women wearing plate, and they're not customized for any gender. It's just, here's your cuirass, put it on. Here's your breastplate, put it on. And it just fits. So it's like, it's a non-issue.
So I actually have an example of the way that you can shape
there you go.
breastplate. Oh, hold on, let me look at what TV. Yeah.
That's a great example right there.
Now, I can't think of when I have seen this made in the metal version, but I do know that I've seen this shape in armor before. And I pulled up a thingy.
Okay.
Well, this part right here is actually designed to be like a breastplate and to add more protection right there. So, so if you want it to be a little more aesthetic and you want it to be a little more like aesthetically feminine to separate that, you can always just lift this part up a bit, because and we see that in male armor sometimes too.
Yep.
And if memory serves, adding this little dip right here in the raised part isn't really going to harm anything.
Right.
So
I thought
you can do that aesthetically.
I thought the example, like, some people freaked out about this, and I'm curious to know what the two of you think. If you watched The Mandalorian and you saw Katie Sackhoff's armor as Bo-Katan in the series.
Let me pull it up so I can see.
Yeah, I had it up a second ago. It was the boob armor.
They were calling it boob armor, but it was more of like
it's not.
Yeah, it was more of like a raised cavity or something.
Yeah, I have it up on mine.
And pull hers up, please.
Like, oh my God, there's space for boobs. What a surprise. What will people do?
It wasn't like, it wasn't such blatant, would you call it titty armor?
Yeah. Well,
no. Okay, hold on, CB, before you get mad. I want to talk about this design. Okay. This is fine. This is how leather armor for people with titties should actually be designed. Because you see him over on the side? So the difference between metal armor for both is designed to come out. There is supposed to be space between the metal and you, because you are supposed to be layering. There's supposed to be padding in there. You're supposed to have clothes in there. Leather armor is different. Leather armor does not have as many layers between the armor and you. Right. There's like you, maybe a padded layer. Well, no, you, clothes, maybe a padded layer, and then that's pretty much it. Maybe one or two padded layers, depending on the culture and their armor design. But therefore, leather armor should actually be more shaped to your frame, because it's like just coming out. So like with the guy right there, his comes out just so far enough that it would cover his chest and his stomach. people with titties, however, we need more there, right? So the leather armor should actually extend farther, which is what I was saying with the Sailor Moon one. So this is actually a good version of the Sailor Moon concept, but brought out here. It raises the chest a bit because she needs that, because she needs that spacing, because she has more there. And and it's, yeah, leather armor is just not supposed to have the same amount of space that metal armor does. So that's the other thing to keep in mind is like, what is it made of? How many layers are they wearing under? You know, what is
Yep.
the purpose? So
I mean,
I
supposedly it's
actually,
supposed to be made out of Beskar. If you follow Star Wars, it's supposed to be metal because
A type
it's
of
it's
metal.
this
well,
special Star Wars metal that's supposed to be lightsaber resistant. I mean, it
I'm
looks like leather to me, too.
yeah, it looks
Looks
very
like
much like
plastic to me,
leather.
but
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair too. But it's a sci-fi metal, and I think that most sci-fi metal armors follow more along the rules of leather armor because they are not wearing lots of layers. They are not wearing padding under there.
We
From
also
what
know
I can tell.
Mandalorians didn't wear a lot. Like, we've seen Boba Fett and Jango Fett,
Yeah.
for those of us who watch Star
So,
Wars. And we know that they're not wearing big puffiness underneath.
yeah, and the way they've specifically designed that armor, I know it looks weird. I know it looks like attention to the nipples trying to be John. But from a seamstress perspective, that is how you sew the boob part. If you
yeah,
like if you look at like fancy dresses or something, they, in order to get around that curve, you have to cut down the middle and then sew them together. And ideally, most of the time, you pull the corner in so you don't get that weird nipple in the clothing. Which that one I could be mistaken, but from this angle they look very flat. It's just that very distinct point. And for me, if this has outraged a lot of fans, I would say it's on the basis that they don't fully understand how armor and clothing works, and they are just so used to being dealing with shitty armor and everything that
yep,
it's that big sigh of, oh, this again, which a very valid reaction, very, good thing, not good
understandable.
thing, but
Yeah.
yes, thank you, very understandable. But like, yeah, that's where I sit on it. I actually would say that this is an example of a well done, I was going to say leather again, a good leather design or sci-fi metal, because sci-fi
Yeah.
metal plays by its own rules.
It really does. But I remember, being a Star Wars nerd that I am, the outrage that came out over this was the same as, say, the outrage and reaction to, like, Red Sonja armor, if you're familiar
No,
with that.
that is not the same. That is a battle bikini. That's
Like,
a whole other.
yeah.
I
You
have
are
no idea
about
what you're
to see
talking
a
about.
chainmail battle.
Oh, that's a little different. Just a tad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People a lot of times in fandoms they like apples to oranges. Let's get mad
People
about
just look for
those
things to
things.
be pissed about, I think, too.
I
But
disagree. Well, I agree and disagree, but using that as a thing with stuff like chainmail, bikini armor, and everything, it's like it's no. We have dealt with. Hold on, Abby, stop rolling on my bed. We like, as a woman who likes fantasy, we have dealt with so many sexualizing and sexism designs that a lot of women, especially older women who have been in these fandoms for well over like some of them half a century even, and it's like, no, we're just pissed, right? And it's like,
yeah.
oh, it's just another thing. It's like I was reading this one fantasy book and I was complaining about a lot of the sexism in it. And one of my guy friends was just like, well, why don't you stop reading it? And I'm like, if I stopped reading every fantasy book that has sexism, I would
Yeah.
never be able to read fantasy. And he was like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. And I'm like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like, I understand why somebody would look at this, and I get why they would be as mad as with Red Sonja, because it's like, it's at that point it's like, oh well, it's just another example, you know.
Yeah.
But
No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was talking specifically about Star Wars. Like, it just feels like lately the fandom has been imploding, and I wasn't speaking specifically about that topic of sexualization in armor or anything like that. But I was talking about just fans seem to be imploding upon themselves when anything Star Wars. They just nitpick anything about it these days.
Star Wars fandom is quite done with all the shit.
Yeah. Are those spikes? Am I?
Tiny objects in place of that's Madonna armor. I would see that in a Madonna video and nothing else.
There.
Nipple pasty armor.
Oh, what was it, like the pink Beyonce Pepsi gladiator. I spelled that wrong. But yeah.
I was about to say the Pepsi commercial.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Jamie and I were alive, and I think, well, I know he was, but I think I was a functioning adult when this.
I was alive. I think I was alive.
I don't remember this commercial.
It was a Super Bowl commercial. No, yeah, don't play it.
Yeah, it came out in 2010.
We'll get him copyright.
I just was looking at the date.
So this commercial came out, and it's they come out and they're in a gladiator arena, and I believe "We Will Rock You" is playing, but instead of fighting each other, they like throw down their swords and they just start singing it, and then they all share a Pepsi, and it's Beyonce, Britney Spears, and Pink.
Yeah, and then this like guy gets, I don't know, screwed over or something because the like chest full of Pepsi fall. I don't know. It's been a while.
Oh, the guy who wanted them to fight, I think a Pepsi chest falls on him.
Yeah.
And it's just
I wasn't really focusing on him when I was watching the video.
But yeah, it's, I don't know. It's that's one of those things where it's just so ridiculous. And I will say that like sometimes when I see armor and stuff like this, and it's very clearly like fashion or it's parody or making fun of things, sometimes I have mixed feelings. I think it depends on who makes it and just how it's represented, because sometimes I laugh too, and then other times I'm like,
I will say that the gladiator scene was a very different arena, no pun intended, than say like infantry in a battle. Right?
Yeah,
if you do a search on something like myrmidons, they pretty much wore like maybe one pauldron and a, what do they call it, a vambrace down with the arm, maybe a helmet, and then they would just bare chested other than that with maybe a loincloth. I mean, these guys were,
because they were for entertainment.
They were put on show, exactly. So they didn't wear, and
they wanted them to die
a lot. Yeah.
They did not want them to live.
And like an effective gladiator weapon combo was a net and a trident. And you come onto the battlefield against someone with a billhook or a spear, or maybe not a spear, but like a halberd, you're screwed. I mean, I'm mixing ancient times with medieval times, granted, but still.
It doesn't matter. Mix them all.
Yeah. I mean, this could be fantasy, right? So who gives a shit?
What I pulled up here was, I remember this a little bit.
I remember a lot of it, so go ahead.
Is the difference between the Wonder Woman, the Amazon's armor, and then the Justice League, the Amazon's armor?
Can you right-click it, get image URL, and then put that in your bar so that it brings it up as bigger?
Let's see. Share screen, Chrome tab. Better?
Oh, okay.
CB's like, I don't know your black magic, so I'll do my own.
Yeah, sorry.
You're fine.
Okay, yeah.
So which one was which?
On the left, you have the from the Wonder Woman movie, which was directed by a woman. I'm pretty sure the costume designer was a woman too.
I apologize ahead of time. I hear my children.
It's okay. so Patty Jenkins, I think, is the director on the left, and then it was Zack Snyder on the right.
Incorrect, I think.
And then just like the difference in like, if anyone can't tell, there's a
No.
little bit
Hold
more.
on. That's
Okay.
part of that's inaccurate. So
It's
what happened was
Okay.
if these are the Amazons from Wonder Woman 1 and Wonder Woman 2.
This is Wonder Woman 1 and 2. I
Uh-huh.
thought it was
Okay. So Patty Jenkins and the costume designer were the same on both movies. They got a lot of flack for Wonder Woman 2 because of this. However, the armor in Wonder Woman 1 was designed with the idea of, well, this is how armor should work, and this is how like would be protective and looks more respectable and everything. And that was fine in concept. However, the way the Amazons worked, the way the Amazons fought, the just like their battle things, the things that they would have to worry about and everything, the actresses actually complained that the armor chafed, that it was hot, that it limited their range of movement. They couldn't actually perform what they needed to do. So they went back in, and with input from the actresses, they designed the armor in Wonder Woman 2 for what Amazons would more need to be mobile, to be moving, and with the idea in mind that these are like demigoddesses. These are not human women.
Right.
So yeah, but they got a lot of flack because people were like, "Oh, well, the Amazons have just been sexualized again." However, if you look at the design of the like metal armor, and though it's very reminiscent of the way that some island cultures wrap their chest for support and protection. And this is
Yeah.
leather, it's not metal. So again, it serves a different purpose and it works a different way. And like the woman in the back, hers is that's like that's just a one strap leather breastplate that was used in
here.
later medieval times and everything. Yeah, the one that is like leaning back.
Yeah.
Yeah, her. That's an actual like just regular thing. And again, because titties need extra space, they have that shaping for the extra space. Now, the woman in the middle, I'm a little sus about because that's a little too formed for my particular taste. Yeah, and I wouldn't actually like see that. That's why I was questioning if it was Wonder Woman 2 or Justice League because of
Oh yeah,
that
the only
woman.
reason I got Justice League is the article title. At least one of the Wonder Woman's Amazons is happy about that Justice League costume change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You can give the
But
dog the treat.
Sam brings up a good point because
Yeah.
historically, especially in ancient times, we had examples of, armor's heavy. So if you're out there fighting and fighting, you're going to get exhausted. And if you go back and you look at cultures like the Greeks, like the Spartans, they didn't wear a lot. I mean, it
Neither
might
did
not have
the
been
Egyptians.
right. And their armor. I'll just use the Spartans for example. They had the big famous shield, the big giant round shield, and they wore a helmet, and then they wore greaves to protect their shins, their lower legs, and pretty much that shield would protect everything else by design. So they wore very minimal armor, protecting only what was visible outside the shield, their lower legs and their helmet, and they had a spear that they'd use for to get that range, and that was pretty much it. And like Sam said, the Egyptians, the Romans wore this, what is it called, legmata? I'm gonna mess that up. I can't. The centurions had this kind of segmented armor that was very, very light but effective. But plate was a game changer because it was so heavy and
well, I'm happy to be
exhausting.
wrong about this because I'm like women. But like, yeah, I totally thought. I'm very happy I was wrong, and that was there's a cat in my drawer, and that it was the actress's input into it because like it
That's
makes
good.
sense, but like I was just
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, "Excuse the fucks out of you. Why did we fuck up the armor?" But then, like, I was like, "Let me see," because I knew Patty Jenkins directed both, and so I was like,
Yeah,
Patty
it would
what?"
make sense because
And then Patty defended her costume designer. She was like, "Listen up, motherfuckers."
yeah, I do think that the second image is from Justice League though, not because
Yeah.
I just watched rewatched
Okay.
Justice League, or I watched the Snyder cut, and
So
it's that armor, not the. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
remember Wonder Woman 2 because it was. Anyways,
Yeah.
there's more questionable things in that movie other than Amazon's armor. So,
sorry, my child is having. She doesn't want to wear leggings or pants. She wants her thermals, and I think they are all in the wash.
oh, aren't thermals a type of leggings?
No,
Okay.
thermals are a form of undergarments
But
that
yeah,
you
but
wear.
they typically closely resemble leggings, or like joggers, slightly loose leggings.
They're made of different materials,
Yeah.
but yes, leggings would be a sufficient replacement at the moment. But she refuses. I have to mute for a sec. Continue.
Oh, cool. I have a like leather. I think it would be called jerkin. That's what I was told when I got it, but I also got it
Jerkin,
in
yeah.
grade. Where it's like comes down like this and it's laced up in the front, and then it's made out of real leather, so it's not actually leather, but and it's like the first like Halloween, or not the first like fantasy costume I got. And I was wondering, like, is this useful at all? Like, I can grab it. 1 second. I'm not gonna put it on because it's hell to put on because it is slightly corseted. But, like, or maybe it is real leather. It is the real leather. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you'd wear it into battle against the British necessarily, but I mean, if you're just out around a town, and a woman of the day that wants to resist a cut purse, or someone who's got a knife or a dagger or something like that, yeah, that would be a very effective. I mean, that looked like heavy
It is.
leather,
Very.
and it would definitely offer some resistance against a bladed attack. I mean, you're not riding into the War of the Roses wearing something like that, but yeah, that's legit armor.
Cool. Yeah. Hi, Sam.
My child is just done with life now. All right, here's what I was talking about with the Wonder Woman armor.
Oh, you have something?
I do. I have the picture.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah. So this was the before, and then this is the after. See, like I said, the one that had been up was a little like sus but you see with these, it follows the reason these ones work for them, whereas these ones don't, is these ones are more metal, and so they're more limiting and everything. But these, they go like around the chest, and so they support here and the ribs without limiting movement or mobility.
They're also buff. And
Yeah, look at those fucking like.
I know.
You could bench press me, probably.
Please.
But yeah, and like for this, it's the Romans, the Greek, even like into the medieval times and everything. Like it's because what they're designed to do is they protect, not this one, but this one more.
Yeah.
It would protect the major arteries and stuff. It like pushes swords and everything away and makes it hard. Because like I don't know if you've ever tried to swing a sword or just anything through a bunch of layers or panels of stuff.
Not
But
really,
it gets tangled.
Yep.
It's like take your hair and try to put your hand through your hair. It's usually like
I brushed my hair like an hour ago, so this isn't working very well. But I now understand. I conceptually understand.
Yeah.
I've walked through one of those bead curtains and gotten stuck before.
That's actually a really good example of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, Wonder Woman 2 versus Justice League. You can just see, this is the same actress in all 3 movies.
Yes, and she looks amazing. I'm like, so buff.
And I would just like to point out her facial expression. And no, give me this picture bigger. Don't shrink it, motherfuckers. There we go. I would just like to point out her facial expression.
It's the one eyebrow raise. Like in the first one, it's like, yeah, and then it's just the.
Yep. And then, so yeah.
Got distracted by muscles. It's cool.
Yep. And of course, she's basically like they're like demigoddesses, right?
Oh.
One of the things that drew my attention was she had this giant warhammer, like a maul.
The last one.
Yeah, and we see that a lot in fantasy art, right? These ridiculous, like sometimes it's usually like a dwarf, this little dude with this massive, like metal cinder block at the end of. And if you've ever picked up a warhammer, like,
picked up a cinder block.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, well, we went to this Ren fair, same one I was talking about my son went to, and this guy made a warhammer, and it had a double. So it was really like more like a mallet because it had 2 sides to it. Right.
Uh-huh.
And just that, it was only this big, and I picked it up. It was like, I had to like, you know, cause you're picking it up at the end, you'd wield it from, and it was like, damn, this thing had a lot of heft to it. I could not fight with that, to just pull it back and like forget about it. I mean, the Amazons, they got super strength, maybe, I don't know, it's fantasy, but the average schmo, you're not going to pick up a warhammer like that and easily wield it at all. I mean, it would be like picking up going into a gym and picking up a 35-pound weight and trying to like hit someone with it. You know?
Do you know why that's specifically like associated with dwarves and everything?
And I don't.
No. It's because Tolkien's dwarves were yes, child.
Brief intermission. Find out after.
For noodles? 3. They're making their breakfast, and so they have to double check cooking times with me.
I still do that with my mom.
Is it still too cold? Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes, and 1 fidget. Now go. They're double checking travel arrangements and what they're allowed to take in the car. All right, so dwarves actually come from Norse mythology. But in Norse mythology, dwarves are like people size. I don't want to say it that way because there are people who are as small as dwarves, but like the difference between Tolkien dwarves and Norse dwarves is that Norse dwarves were the average height of Norse people. And you feel like you need to be built like Thor to actually wield a warhammer.
Yeah, Dan Jones, you feel like you need to be built like Thor to actually wield a warhammer. I mean, you shouldn't have to be. Like, I think, Dan, I don't know if you were on the chat when I was showing my actual warhammer, but this is, it's a hammer. It's as easy as wielding like a regular hammer, and that's how big the hammerheads were on real warhammers. And
the Norse people used warhammers in battle and everything, and so their dwarves used warhammers, and because Tolkien based his dwarves on Norse culture, that's why hammers became associated with dwarves. And then a lot of modern fantasy takes their basis in Tolkien for a lot of their references and everything.
I guess that makes sense because, like you said, they were descended from Norse or inspired by Norse mythology. But I was wondering like how they became, the fantasy makes them like this. Whereas if you show
makes everything bigger, more bigger.
I've seen paintings of Thor from the 1800s, and he's holding Mjolnir in his hand, and it's like this little thing. It's like a mallet, and that's probably how the Norse pictured it, because that's what a warhammer would have looked like. Of course, now we show the cinder block on a stick, right? I made another prop. This is a Becta Corbin, which would have been on a long pole as well, but it's basically a warhammer on one side Becta Corbin is French for crow's beak, so it's got the crow's beak here, and then the spike. So you could, kind of thrust with it, hook onto someone's armor or into them, or concuss with the hammer part.
So if I remember correctly,
that's all the bigger it was, though. The hammerheads.
The reason the tiny hammerheads turned into the cinder block hammerheads was a bit because of blacksmith hammers. Because people didn't know what a warhammer looked like, but they knew what a blacksmith hammer was. So they logicked that, well, a sickle and a scythe and khopesh were farming implements. Obviously, hammers were used in battle because of blacksmiths. And it's like, that's not how that works, honey.
Yeah.
But also the symbol for Thor's hammer is like, it was always a mallet, but it was a mallet with a cinder block. It was not actually the pointy one. So that was the other thing, is people who don't understand like history and the mythology and stuff like that. Like, oh, okay, so everybody used cinder block hammers, and it's like, no, Thor is the first example of a fantasy hammer.
And of course, if you're Thor, you could lift
the belt and the everything to pick it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're Thor, you can pick it up. And it doesn't matter how big it is, because
Thor's is specifically supposed to look super impressive because he's a god. But like, that's, like I said, that's one of those things where it's like, people like these things. People think these things look cool, so people use these things, but people don't understand why these things functioned, how they functioned, or why they were designed, how they were designed. So
yeah, the anvil on a tree.
I was double checking my Thor fact while you were
no, cool.
The warhammers.
Mjolnir, also known as Jonathan. That's from it's Marvel, like, people, the cast is being quizzed, and Ant-Man, what's his name? Paul Rudd.
I just kept going McCartney.
Hammer, and he just goes very confidently, Jonathan.
I have mixed feelings about how they like can't say Mjolnir. Like, that's not even, I am pretty sure that's not even the like correct pronunciation of it, but that's just the closest that we can do because of the way that our mouths formed when we learned language. And then some of them, one of my favorite actresses, she just calls it Mew Mew. And I'm like,
Darcy.
On the one hand, I get it. On the other hand, try harder.
Oh, look, it's Mew Mew.
Mew Mew.
I like, because it's a thing that's still part of an active religion and culture. So I'm like, try harder to be more respectful of that. But also, I love you, so I might forgive you.
She's awesome.
Two Broke Girls is one of my favorite things that she's played in.
I love that show.
I'm so happy you know what Two Broke Girls is.
Yeah, that show is awesome.
I've seen a little.
Yeah, Kat Dennings is great. I loved her in. I'm so happy the way they brought her back in WandaVision.
Mm-hmm. So cool, Queen.
Yeah,
Kat Dennings is amazing.
But the other weapon that gets the steroid treatment is the battle axe. Right?
Yes.
And I mean,
I'm waiting for you to pull
prop time again, but I made a pole axe, right? And I made a halberd. People know what halberds are, I think.
Halberd.
Right? And that's a big one, and that's pretty realistic. But they show these giant axe blades, but then not just one, but on both sides. So the only time you'd use, a double-bitted axe, as they call it, is if you were a woodsman. Like, you're off chopping trees all day, and one side gets dull, so you'd flip it around to the sharp side and start using that one.
Well, when you're hacking up bodies all day.
Who gets attacked by bandits, but also, I like where you're thinking.
Yeah. Because if your blade gets dull, if your axe blade gets dull, like, it was just like I told my son, who cares? It's still going to smash, if nothing else. And you use the other end of the weapon for a hammer or a spike or whatever. They didn't use double-bladed axes in battle.
Which, for the record, in case chat is curious. Part of the reason that these things were not done, or that you see like a big side and a little side, was like, if I remember right, a mix of aeronomics and just balance. Because if both sides are heavy, then it's a lot harder to swing. But if
Yeah.
one side is heavy, it works. You and gravity, you got this. But if both are, then you need. Which is also why you don't fuck with axemen. I'm just saying.
Precisely. And you don't want it to be too heavy because you got to wind up and wield this thing at someone.
Lumberjack. That's the word I wanted to say, not axeman.
Lumberjack.
Fair. I was like, yes.
But yeah, that's another steroid weapon that's become the fantasy craziness.
Now, one thing in fantasy that I enjoy is when weapons are mixed with magic, which I don't really see happen a lot of times. But like, there was one time when they used what is the squiggly sword called?
The flamberge.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
One time there was a flame verge, and they were using fire magic, and the fire actually danced down the sword.
Oh, cool.
To get to yeah, and I was like, yes. And for me, that was even better because I'm like, that's how the blood would trickle down. Somebody knows how the thing works.
There's like an old D&D cartoon. I watched growing up, even though it came out way before I existed.
Props.
And in it, one of the magic weapons is a bow, but it has no string or like arrows or anything.
Yes,
and when I love back, those. The like light or whatever appears, and I just always thought that was really cool as a kid.
If it's
and
not
now,
already,
honestly,
if it is not already, that is becoming a fantasy trope. I've seen the stringless bow in quite a few things now.
When that came out in the early 80s, that was kind of like a new, like I was like, oh, like I'd never seen that before, but now
it's a Dungeons and Dragons ride. I had my friend who would walk out and like quote the opening, like the entire opening, because I watched it with my friend a few times. Anyways.
And the paladin just had a shield. He had no weapon. He was just like, I'm a paladin. I'm like, where's your sword, dumbass?
Don't need a sword when I've got the power.
The wizard hat.
I watched it, but I cannot remember anything about it right now.
So cool. I watched it when I was very small, and then older.
My brain is allowing me access to random weaponry and armor facts that I've learned eons ago and forgot that I knew.
Yep.
I don't know.
It's okay.
I can provide my opinions.
Yeah, your opinion and your questions. Part like this is a little off topic, but part of the reason I like with my Let's Talks for one person to not know what's going on necessarily is because their questions provide great fuel for discussion.
I'm really good at not knowing what's going on.
She's amazing at not knowing what's going on. Special skill set she possesses.
Oh yeah, put that on my resume.
Yep.
My college applications.
That's the other thing too for like magic weapons is I'll pick on D&D a little bit, but they go all in on the sword. Well, I think D&D goes all in on the sword anyway. Whereas in the Middle Ages and the medieval times, the sword was your backup weapon. You use that if you were in deep trouble. Your primary weapon was something much longer, like a spear.
Because you don't want them to get that close to you.
Yeah. And it's like, oh crap. I used to, when I was a kid, I used to wonder why the Romans fought with, these tiny little, the gladius was a short sword. I'm like, what are you doing? Now I understand that they fought with primarily their spear. And if the enemy got too close, then they'd drop the spear and go, oh crap, and bring out the sword. That was your backup weapon. And it's become, the sword has taken center stage in so much fantasy.
Yes.
Because it's cool looking.
Because it's cool.
I mean, like, yes.
However,
sword.
Swashbuckling, right? Swashbuckling is cool. How cool is swashbuckling? If you're a pirate.
I have preferred pole arms since I was a teenager. Most of my anime OCs, regardless of setting, would have a naginata.
Oh, nice. Yep.
I'm looking up the photo for you, fear not.
You understand me.
I do. I knew I would have to pull it up.
Yeah, those were, and that's true because like the naginata, as prevalent as those were, they take center stage away from the katana takes center stage away from the naginata, whereas the samurai likely used these guys as their primary weapon.
Stabs. They sometimes also had a blade down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because they were like, you could do that or that if someone was sneaking up on you. And that's why I preferred the naginata over like a spear or other pole arms, because I was like, I can stab the bitches behind me.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Same.
sneaking up.
It's a very, very effective weapon.
Yeah. I love a naginata.
Yeah.
And I love the decoration there. See, I like decorations like this because it's like, yeah, I could very believably see that being a thing. Also, as we were talking about blood trickling, most blades have this, but it's not easy to see. This one has it easy to see right here. And I'll look up a picture of that because those motherfuckers, if I remember right, are huge. But like this ridge, you'll have a distinct bump right here where things come up, and that is so the blood can trickle down it, because it's all about like, metal's expensive. Metal is hard to fix and repair. So they
once it breaks once, it's kind of
not just breaks, but rust, and like it's gone.
Yeah, Eric mentions the Welsh longbow. Stay away as far as possible. That's something too. Hey, Justiva. Thanks for joining us. The bow is another fantasy. Well, we see the bow so much in fantasy, and I feel like we give the bow to elves a lot and to female warriors, because there's this impression that there's this sleight of frame, agile,
Here we go.
When in reality,
even though you need like a shit ton of
I mean, anybody that's pulling that back has my respect, because some of these, like the English longbow, sometimes had 150-pound pull to it, and so there's this impression, this fantasy impression of just, it's the small little elf, we give them the bow and that sort of thing. It's like, no, that elf would probably beat me in arm wrestling. You know what I mean? Like,
so I always take pleasure out of the mental headcanons whenever I see a female character who has the bow. I'll be like, so she could beat the swordsman in an arm wrestling contest.
Yep.
Because it takes a lot more muscle and strength to pull that bow back. Also, fun fact for anybody writing fantasy, you do not hold position with a bow with the string pulled back. Do you know how fucked up your bicep is gonna be by the end of the day? Archers, when you pull the bow, archers at the ready are archers with a loose grip, and their bow like either down or like that. But like more often in battle, they would have them down, and then it would be like archers ready, pull. Or like a battle archer is more likely just going to be like, it's like
exactly.
That. Legolas was a rather realistic example of an archer. I'm just saying, everybody likes to be like, oh, Legolas is just a fantasy elf, and like what he could do, you can't do. No, that is how archers fought.
Yep.
But people are all like, well, it takes so long to pull a bow back into aim and all that. They're not useful. No, motherfuckers.
No.
How long does it take you to go like this?
So Just Eva says, great point. The archers and bow hunters that I know are not dainty creatures. I mean, you gotta, that's a strong draw on a lot of these, especially the longbows.
When I was younger, I really liked, and still now, really liked the series Ranger's Apprentice, because the main character's like main weapon was a bow. And like it described like in detail like how much strength was required to pull back a bow, and like how there was like a warrior like side character, and our ranger, like people would be like, oh, ranger's like, he's like, his build is like kind of slight, and then he'd like take off the cloak and his shoulders are like ripped because he spends all day shooting a bow.
Be like fighting a cannon, but not letting the ball shoot out.
I get so tired of that shit.
Lighting a cannon,
like,
yeah.
Because it's like they write like the archer is in position,
Yeah, like
with the bow pulled
hold.
back, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, they've done this. They've been sitting there for like an hour, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, my archery instructor in high school, she had issues, but she didn't know much about archery, and she'd be like going through a thing, she'd be like, and pull back, and then have us sit there for like 30 seconds before we were allowed to release. And I would just not do it. I'm like, no, I don't want to.
To be fair, our archery coach had us do that when we were first learning to develop our muscles to.
Yes, but this was like a high school. We have like 20 minutes to do anything.
Oh.
Just let us shoot the bows.
Well, I have to defend your teacher on this. 20 minutes or not, safety is safety, and developing those archery muscles is important.
Yes.
So, but
she also pointed the bow at her students. So like anything she did.
Okay, that her no, but
God.
she should be fired immediately.
Yes.
But I was just defending the pulling back, because when you, like I said, when you're learning, our archery coach, he did that so that we could develop the muscles to pull it back and everything, and so he could check our form.
Yeah, no, she would be like, all right, guys, don't pull it back, and has a conversation with someone else, and then she's like, oh yeah, you can shoot. Like, ma'am?
I don't care about your arms. It's fine.
Yeah, that's definitely threatening. I can't. Was it drawn back when she was pointing it, or?
Oh yeah, she was like, see, it's like this, and then just did that across the entire class.
Oh my god, we would be banned. We would be kicked off the team. Never allowed to touch a bow again.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
I should also point, my archery coaches actually hunted with bows. They during deer season and stuff, so they were not battle archers though. I long to be a battle archer, but I have absolutely no way, means, or anything of becoming one. I'm so sad. I have to write a battle archer now.
There's a crossbow that has, I want to say, 1,000-pound pull.
Damn.
And you need a special winch. So you hook this winch up to the crossbow and then crank it as the string pulls back, and you're cranking it up, and then you pull the winch off, and now it's like cocked with this thing, and you put this bolt in. The bolt is like probably that thick and that long. And this thing's got an amazing range. And I watched this video where there was this guy testing it out who had one. It went right through plate.
I need a buddy.
All the way into, like, this deep into a plate mail.
I need a buddy duo where you've got like two people, and one of them uses that, and the other one is the melee person who's like super either armored or just a barbarian berserker thing that can take all of the damage if they get hit, and they're just like meleeing it, and it's like, are you ready yet? It's like, not yet. How about now? Almost there.
Yeah. Well, what was cool about this thing?
But then it would, one shot kill the thing,
Yep.
and he just looks over. Because in my mind, in this duo, the melee one's a dude at the moment, and he just looks over, and it's like, took you long enough, and it's like, yeah, you're alive.
You'd have one shot, like a charging.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like a telephone pole in a tornado. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't find your analogies corny. They're perfect.
We like the analogies. Yeah, I mean, you'd have one shot, like someone was charging you on horseback, and you're sitting there going, "Oh crap!" And you get it. If you don't get that shot off, then pick up your sword because you're in trouble.
That is a weapon for those with confidence.
Yeah.
I'm just looking up different crossbows at the moment. This one.
There was actually, as much as I hated the movie Scorpion King with
The Rock.
Dwayne Johnson, there was a scene where he used a bow. The character Scorpion King used a bow, and they were whatever. I forget what happened, but he was captured or something, and someone tried to pick up his bow and pull it back, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, they were like, "This is a silly weapon," and they're like, It's like, yeah.
Now you have to bend that piece of wood for the string.
You can't, can you? Have you ever tried to string a bow?
Yes.
Oh.
Many a times.
We had we normally shot with compound bows, but we did have 2 or 3 longbows that we trained with just so that we could be able to shoot them. And let me tell you, we were in charge of stringing them and unstringing them.
I've mostly shot with
It was not a fun time.
Normal.
I am not ashamed to say I was not usually the one who strung that motherfucker.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like, even if it's just like a 5-pound draw, it is an itch to put it on, like to string the bow still.
And it's not just it's also not just about the strength, so that was a factor. It's also the height. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, it came up to here on me. So yeah. It's also trying to do the strength and then also not smack myself in the face.
Yeah.
And then my teacher constantly reminding me, well, if you put it this way, and I'm like, well, sir, you're half a foot taller than me.
You like wrap your legs around it, like have to put it like under 1 foot and then like 1 foot tucked over to bend it in this way.
For record, I was between 5'2" and 5'3" for all of my archery time.
And now obviously you're like 6'7" and
5'4". I got an extra inch after high school, which would have helped with stringing that bow in my mind.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Make a big difference.
Sorry, I was checking my messages, and apparently I had this meme open to read earlier, and I didn't read it, and I glanced at it now, and it's like, but nobody got hurt. Well, maybe somebody got hurt, but nobody we knew. And it says, when you are a party of murder hobos, but befriend one random NPC.
That's relatable.
Yeah, as a DM, if your players are all a bunch of murder hobos, one of the easiest way to get them to stop being murder hobos is just to make NPCs that they really love and then put them in danger. And they're
give
like,
them
no!
a friend and then threaten that friend.
Ooh, pirate weaponry, all sorts of stuff. Cutlasses, you mean like swords or guns?
Depends
Blackbeard,
on which pirates too.
Yeah, Blackbeard carried like 8 loaded pistols in his shirt, or sorry, his jacket. And he'd pull them out, bang, 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 bang. Yeah.
I got pirate themed.
Nice.
From last night, I hadn't taken it off my desk.
The other thing about pirates too that I don't think they depict a lot is that typically a pirate ship would be democratic, first of all, and they'd elect their captain. Mm-hmm. And when they weren't out, raiding other ships, they kept their weapons locked up because, mutiny was a thing, and and when it came time to do what they did, they'd unlock the weapons locker and divvy out all the weapons and go do their thing, and then everything would go back in storage. I'm not sure we see that a lot with like Pirates of the Caribbean and that sort of thing. Everyone just has swords attached to them all the time, ready to go.
Fair.
I
have a fantasy with a pirate who is pretty bad arse. I love a good pirate story.
I would like to say that I also like the, I think it's the Jin or the Zhang. It's Jian. That Chinese pirates often used because it was a very, very straight blade. And the design of it made it go through ribs very easily.
Oh.
I'm looking at the names of the weapons that I know that Chinese pirates use so that I can remember what they look like.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the king, I think it's called. It's like it's the spear with the tassel at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I just enjoy how those look and how they're usually used because like you're so like the way that they fight with them is to like do it and it fucks with people's heads. If I remember correctly.
Would they carry many weapons on their person? Did they conceal weapons in their garments? I know that Edward Teach, Blackbeard, carried like 8 guns in his coat that he'd pull out, and he also had a sidearm like a sword or something like that. So I don't know that they all carried lots of weapons all the time, but some certainly did. I don't know that they concealed them all because for what they did, I don't know that they had to do a lot of covert sneaking on board. Usually when they saddle up to you, you know they're being attacked. So I don't know. It might be worth, if you're writing about it, it might be worth researching. I don't want to bullshit you and make something up, but
from what I would know of pirates, so European pirates were often actually, what is the word? They were legal sailors of one country.
Oh, like privateers?
Thank you. They were often actually privateers, so they were like legal in one country, but they would go steal and pilfer from another country, and so they would be pirates in those countries. Actual like pirates, as we think of them in the modern day, who were just like outlaws who fucked over everything, were extremely rare. Even like the pirates who were like outlaws and stuff, they were usually rebels rebelling against their own government or their country. And so a lot of them were I don't want to say ex-sailors, but they were like ex-legal sailors and soldiers and warriors and stuff who had like abandoned the army because they didn't want to fight whatever wars that they were supposed to fight, or just because they couldn't find work elsewhere, or because they were gay and they were ostracized. That happened quite a lot. So like modern day fantasy pirates are not the same as historical pirates. So
that's okay.
Whether or not they concealed their weapons would largely, from a purely historical viewpoint, it would depend on what they were doing at the time. So say they went into like a pirate island, which sounds weird, but they had those. They were island ports where it was basically just a headquarters for pirates. Pirates were actually very organized. Like their governments were better than some of the other governments at the time. Look up the lesbian pirate island if you ever get a chance.
Proof that the gays should be in charge.
Yep.
But it's like when you're not condemning people and killing them for being different, shit gets done. But
what imagine?
But yeah, but if they're like going into a town trying to mix and mingle amongst the civilians, then yeah, all of their weapons would be concealed because they don't want to draw attention, but they also don't want to be caught with their metaphorical pants down either.
Right.
Or the actual pants down.
So Justiva says this is a fantasy without industry, so the guns aren't a thing. Magic is, though. Specific pirate collects magic items, just considering how I could magic up pirate-specific items.
Energy pistols, a compass that points you to where you want to go.
Jack Sparrow's compass.
A coat with magic pockets, so like if anybody looks at the pocket, there's nothing there, but they can reach their hand in and pull out all the things. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. You just asked about history, and
yeah,
I have 2 different answers for history versus fantasy.
Yep. You can combine some, there are some magic Celtic swords from Celtic mythology. One of them was Fragora, which could cut through any armor. So you could have a cutlass that could cut through any material, maybe.
Yeah.
And another one was Morata, where it was basically instant death for anyone who was wounded by it. So you could maybe borrow from other legendary magic mythos and, borrow into your pirate scenario. I don't know.
Inspiration. But to finish my point that I forgot to
Oh,
finish
sorry.
earlier. Oh no, that's not. I went on a different tangent. I interrupted myself. But because pirates were like ex-soldiers or ex-privateers or stuff like that, a lot of time, their weapons would just be the same weapons that like soldiers or something would use because they would have just taken them with them. Which is why a lot of them just use muskets or pistols or what is it called? It's assigned. You like in the old days, you were assigned your weaponry, so like they were basically took home. What was it called? Go on now. If I remember it, I'll bring it back up. But
just catch up with chat a little bit. Not all pirates are bad guys. Very true. My pirate is a bad guy, but also one of my favorite characters. Hoping the readers will agree. Some pirates only went after ships carrying human cargo, for example. That's interesting. She has magic eye patch.
Caribbean pirates often did that. I don't remember if this is accurate, but I think at least a couple of at least one Caribbean island was actually originally populated by black slaves who had escaped, and there was this black pirate captain who would just go around targeting slave ships and freeing them and then taking them to the Caribbean. And then when like England and the US were all like, give us back our slaves, don't take that out of context, then the Caribbean pirate captains and stuff were like, no, fuck you, we don't answer you bitches. So
yep.
That's if my Pirates of the Caribbean like the movies knowledge is coming through, that's how Jack Sparrow became a pirate.
Yes, because he
refused.
Because he was, if I remember correctly, he was an ex sailor, like sailor in the context of the he worked to fight pirates. Is that there's an actual term for it, but I cannot remember it. Like sea police, and they saved this ship from pirates, and then he realized the ship was carrying human cargo, which is really just the nice way of saying slaves, if there is a nice way.
Yeah.
And was carrying human cargo, and Jack was like very put off by this and became an alcoholic pirate.
Yeah. I like that. Activist with ships.
Yes.
Robin Hood with a peg leg. Hi, Brightside. I don't write magic like that, but my friend is fully into that stuff. So since when I write superheroes, I created a superpower that I call Enchanter, which means she can curse or bless anything for that person. That's cool.
So something I find interesting, which your story, you do you, but in superhero comics, superpowers and magic are actually two different categories.
Yep. Social justice pirates. Right on.
Yes.
Honestly, yes.
All right. Are we wrapping
Definitely.
up soon?
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking at the clock. We got about 4 minutes until noon. So do you want to do our sign-offs? Thanks, everyone, for joining. We appreciate it.
Sure. And for those here on the replay, because you were doing sprints, we appreciate you, too.
Yep.
Hey, bye-bye. Cool. I'll go. Goodbye. I'm...
Goodbye.
I usually go like, hey there, so I'm like, goodbye there. I'm CB Ferrenz, young adult fantasy author, YouTuber, college student, teenager, and film major. And on my channel, I talk about how those things come together, or rather do not. I make skits, I do live streams, and I give semi-reliable writing advice. Oh, and I have a short film that I made on my channel that you can check out. First film I ever made. And yeah, there's lots of weapons in the books I write. And if you want to know what I'm up to, you can add me on social medias. That's mine.
Great. Sam?
And hi, I'm writing mom Samantha L. Nasset. On my channel, I do live streams at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Sometimes I do writing sprints, and sometimes we do Let's Talks, kind of like this, where we talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. In November, because I'm still adjusting to my shots and everything, we're just going to be talking about movies. It's going to be a good time.
Woo!
If you would like to keep up to date with all things Sam, you can sign up to my newsletter at my website, samanthallnasset.com. If you would like to read a spooky flash fiction, you can also read it there. It is Until Pizza Do Us Part. Like the stream to stay up to date on all things WWW, you can either sign up to my newsletter or subscribe to the WWW literally everywhere, because we post information everywhere. I am losing my voice or something's in it. Excuse me. And yeah, like, subscribe, follow. There are still, this is the last chat of the day, but there are still sprints going on the sprinting playlist, and the closing ceremony is tonight at
7:30?
Yes, I want to say that is accurate. And I don't feel good. However, if you're on this playlist, then it will automatically take you to the closing ceremony. So you could just leave it open for 8 hours if that is your prerogative.
Yep.
Or the sprint chat will also take you to the playlist, takes you through each one, and the closing ceremony is on there as well.
Right.
So that's it.
And I am J.M. Celi. I am a fantasy writer. I am working on a novel about a half succubus who's desperately trying to escape hell and get to the mortal world. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And you can read the first chapter of my work in progress, A Flower in Hell, at jmchaley.com. On YouTube, I do stuff like this, where I talk about fantasy stuff, merging with real history, or fantasy stuff merging with role-playing games, and put it all together and give writing tips occasionally, make fun of tropes, make fun of boob armor, make fun of men writing women, that sort of thing. We have fun. So thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.